In Mississippi, Lord, Mississippi, the governor has proclaimed April Confederate Heritage Month. And next Saturday, if you're not busy, April 27th, specifically was proclaimed Confederate Memorial Day. The proclamation was shared by the Facebook page of the state landmark, the Jefferson Davis Home and Presidential Library. Check out the caption here. They invite you to come celebrate with us. Celebrate with you. Celebrate the heritage of traders who fought to preserve slavery under the fallacy of white supremacy? Hard pass. And this is not the first year this is happening in Mississippi, but you have to ask, why does it keep happening? Well, let's get perspective now from a former governor of Mississippi, Ray Mabus. He was also Secretary of the Navy under President Obama and is a former ambassador. Governor, good to see you. Let me read first just a bit of the statement that came from Governor Tate Reeves, spokesperson. For the last 30 years, 5 Mississippi governors, Republicans and Democrats alike, have signed a proclamation recognizing the statutory state holiday and identifying April as Confederate Heritage Month. But this is a choice every time it happens. What's your reaction to this proclamation?
Well, first, I didn't do it when I was governor. And second, Confederate heritage, really? The heritage that I think of Confederacy is slavery, is treason, and is losing. So which one of those heritages are we really honoring here?
That's a good question. That's a pretty good question. All right. You're wanting to celebrate a time in history where, people lost a war to keep alive the right to own, sell, and abuse other human beings solely based on the color of their skin. Okay. People used to hang, burn, and eat Black people. And this type of individual wants to keep a day in history where a lot of white racists honor alive, even though they lost the war. And they say that America is not a racist nation. Right. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves declared April will be celebrated as Confederate Heritage Month in Mississippi, keeping a 31-year-old tradition alive. The proclamation came from Bivouac, the museum and home of Confederate President Jefferson Davis, in a Facebook post dated April 12th. Reeves pushed the declaration to honor all who lost their lives in this war. Whereas we honor all who lost their lives in this war, it is important for all Americans to reflect upon our nation's past, to gain insight from our mistakes and successes, and to come to a full understanding that the lessons learned yesterday and today will carry us through tomorrow if we carefully and earnestly strive to understand and appreciate our heritage and our opportunities which lie before us, the proclamation read. Now, therefore, I, Tate Reeves, governor of the state of Mississippi, hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 a Confederate Heritage Month in the state of Mississippi. Owned and operated by the Sons of Confederate Veterans, a neo-Confederate organization promoting lost cause ideology, Bivouac receive $100,000 annually from the state of Mississippi for development and upkeep. This will be the 4th year in a row that Reeves declared the proclamation since 2020. He defended the controversial measures in 2021, saying both past Democrat and Republican governors have signed them. For the last 30 years, 5 Mississippi governors, Republicans and Democrats alike, have signed a proclamation recognizing the statutory state holiday and identifying April as Confederate Heritage Month, he said in a statement at the time. Governor Reeves also signed a proclamation because he believes we can all learn from our history. Following the removal of the state's Confederate themed flag from state buildings in 2020 After social justice protests, lawmakers voted to replace the flag. Reeves pledged not to support such efforts, but still signed the bill to retire it, calling it a law to turn a page in Mississippi today. However, he rejected the systematic racism existed and criticized Black Lives Matter protests. It's fashionable in some quarters to say our answers were all evil. I reject that notion. I also reject the elitist worldview that these United States are anything but the greatest nation in the history of mankind. You got to understand how the United States became the greatest nation in the history of mankind. And great to who? That's another thing. This is a government that will put up puppet leaders to suit their own interests and annihilate, reputation, or basically unalive, countries who have genuine leaders that want to do good for their country and get rid of the United States and Western powers' stranglehold on their countries. The United States government lies to its people using propaganda to get them to fight wars, not for freedom, but to line the pockets of crooked bureaucrats and politicians, Republicans and Democrats alike, to fuel the greed of corporations. Meanwhile, you have veterans that are maimed, crippled, can never have a family, have been victims of assault by their own fellow service members, which is a very high epidemic in the military, which is rarely talked about. C-SPAN did a story on it, and that's the reason why they can't get their nation's best and brightest, because they fear being assaulted. And the fact that they will never get justice at all. This is the United States that we are living in, whose government is supporting neo-Nazi Ukraine, Zionist Israel. Okay? This is the government we live under, and say this is the greatest nation. The only thing great about America is you could come here, get an education, not worry about the fact that speaking your mind will not get you locked up in prison or shot by firing squad. That women could have the right to vote. And God forbid they're attacked by a deranged lunatic man, they can get justice, unlike in other countries. You got the freedom of religion, which is soon being taken away, which is, I'm just being real. Little by little, even those rights are being taken away, but that's it. Other than that, that's the only reason why America is a good place to live. For now, because fascism is taking over, headed by both Republican and Democrat. I reject the mobs tearing down statues of our history, North and South, Union and Confederate founding fathers and veterans. I reject the chaos and lawlessness. I am proud it has not happened in our state. Now, that's one thing I do reject, is tearing down statues and tearing down flags, because that's what happened in China when it was becoming communist. Keep those things up to remember our history. You don't celebrate the people in history that have caused people pain. Some leaders feel celebrating Confederacy is a bad look, in part on Reeves. When CNN's Victor Blackwell read part of the statement from the governor, he looped in former Democratic Governor Ray Mabus to get his opinion, who started by saying, well, first, I didn't do it when I was governor. And second, Confederate heritage. Really? The heritage that I think of with Confederacy is slavery, is treason, and losing, which is one of those heritages are we really honoring here? But it's all part of that lost narrative, the moonlight and magnolias that came about a few years after the Civil War in an attempt to reassert white supremacy. But what does is incredibly hurtful. It is incredibly harmful, and it honors something that we should learn about, know about, but definitely not honor. And that's the thing. All right. The South is trying its best. those who are in power, the white supremacists in power, are trying its best through its black white supremacist counterparts or its model minorities to try and get back power to be up in the limelight again. Okay, whether it's Christian nationalism, whether it's using a model minority to say, hey, we don't need affirmative action, only for that to blow up in your face. And now you got to worry about trying to get your kid your non-white kid into a good school, while other white kids who come from rich homes can get into school no matter how poorly they've done in high school. Okay. Because they have rich family members and rich parents, legacy admissions, fooling you and thinking you're better than every other non-white ethnic group in America. And that's what's happening here. And you'll find some black conservative or model minority that will probably back this and think it's perfectly okay. All right, that's all I got for now. Anything else you want to know about this channel in the description box? Later. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.